Hey folks, Sam here. I'm doing a interesting update here. Been looking at the events in Russia with the very interesting twists and turns of Navalny, this figure who was poisoned and then he came back and went back to Russia. Then he was imprisoned. And it's showing some real uprisings in Russia right now. And I checked it out and looked at his chart, and we do have a good, reliable birth information on him. So I'm doing a case study. It's very interesting for people to see his chart, what's going on now, and what it could mean for Russia. Um, and so I'm going to be talking about that here. Pull this up. I have, I have this. We could see this protest here. Some articles here that I have. Also have a list of Russian presidents since the new Russia in 1992. I'm using January 1st, 1992 as modern Russia because that's when Soviet Union formally dissolved, and what we now know as Russia was established. Boris Yeltsin was the first president. Then it's been mainly Putin's country since its inception. Really from 1999, from early 2000, a little bit with Medvedev, and then Putin for most of the time in the country, in what we call modern Russia. Even on Wikipedia now, when we have the list of the presidents of Russia, it's in this modern term. So we're going to be looking at that, and I have that chart as well as Navalny's chart. And so this is what we're going to be looking at here. And I do also just want to let people know, because I am doing this, we're at the beginning of 2021. And if you haven't yet, go and register for the 2021 forecast, the 10 shifts you must know. It's a very hopeful, optimistic forecast. New cycle of hope just happened in early January, the new moon. Time to concentrate. We're now leading up to this second important shift of 2021, and there's a few other things I'm going to be saying about this very soon about upcoming events. But as you see, we have all of these different things to go through in 2021. This is a free forecast. Just go ahead and register. If you click that web page or that link, 2021 Vedic Astrology, then you can just click register now, and you can just select a time and whatnot. But today we're going to be talking about this Russian situation, which, again, it's nice when we have a good case study and we can see something live. And I'm going to make predictions. I make predictions. I don't goof around and just say, well, the energy, watch out, it's changing, it's transformative, and then claim when anything happens that I was right. In these kinds of things, I do literally say things, and I'm going to talk about what I do see coming up, and especially with this guy Navalny. Oh, we have Hank Aaron's chart. I was just looking at Hank Aaron recently as well. But here's Navalny, and we're going to look at his at what's been going on with him. This is his chart. This is a pretty reliable birth time on Astro Data Bank. It's got an A rating. And I looked over the source notes. I don't remember the exact source, but it looked very credible. And also makes sense with his dasha. So without getting into an entire biography of Navalny, we can certainly see at least the last couple years, especially this last year, when he was poisoned in August of 2020, and that would have been when he was in. Oops, let me go up here. He would have been in Mars Ketu dasha. Right after Mars Ketu was when he was poisoned. And then he one second. Yeah, then he is now in Mars Venus, and he'll be in Mars Venus through this year, through 2020. And so what we have here is a excuse me, is a really good case study here, particularly with Mars is the he's a Virgo ascendant, as we can see. This Virgo rising is very, it's very practical, organized, methodical, And in his natal chart, and strategic, literal, using things like technology, communication, he's got quite a social media presence. Like, I think it's 6 million YouTube followers. He's been recently using a lot of this modern social media trolling against Putin. And a lot of the stuff that Putin used and that Russia used, by the way, if you don't think Russia interfered in our elections and in our social structure, I'm just going to, assume that we all know this has been happening. But the same kind of social media trolls and bots and, using it to foment, propaganda and messages, he's been using to quite effectively recently against Putin and Putin's, mansions and palatial estates and retreats on TikTok and whatnot. And Putin is like pretty terrified of what Navalny represents, and he should. So as we look forward here, we can see again his Mars. It was Mars Ketu when he was poisoned. It was in August. I think it was August 20th he was poisoned, and he was in Mars Ketu dasha. So we can see here, now he's got a debilitated Mars, right? Mars is in the 11th house, but in particular, we have to look at what Mars rules. So when we look at the rulerships here, Mars is the ruler of the 8th house, and he's the ruler of Ketu and Jupiter in his 8th house. Okay, now Jupiter is the ruler of the 4th and 7th house. So his Mars dasha in general is going to activate Jupiter in this, which is the 7th lord, and most importantly, Jupiter is the 4th house ruler, and the 4th house has to do with your homeland, literally like Mother Russia or his homeland. So the Mars cycle for Navalny is very activating as it relates to his relationship with his homeland, with his as a leader in the homeland and as a revolutionary. Those of you who've been listening to me before have known and have heard me many times talk about how Jupiter is not just our beliefs, and again, it shows inspiring figures and what inspires us, but it can also show fanaticism, radical beliefs. But again, in Navalny's case, he's got Jupiter in Aries, and it's with Ketu. So he's very much this transformative, crusading figure that has the courage to be like a Martin Luther King type, or a transformative leader, and a kind of fanatical leader, where he's obviously again it's Mars, who is the ruler of Jupiter and also of Ketu, and in his Mars Ketu dasha, Mars Ketu is when he was poisoned and almost killed. He almost died. Again, of course, Mars is the 8th house ruler. And in Mars Ketu, where Mars is ruling Ketu, he almost dies. Okay? Now again, he was poisoned with the Novichok, I think is what it's called, and almost died. Now again, there are several ways to look at this. When we look at when we look at the nakshatras here, both Ketu and Jupiter are in Bharani nakshatra, which of course is activated by Venus. He's now in Venus dasha. He's now in Venus subdasha. So we're going to get to that in a second. But Bharani is also ruled by Lord Yama, who is of course the lord of death and consequences. Very dangerous sub-period for him was Mars Ketu, and he almost died. And you can see right after, Mars Ketu is fast, because both Mars is short and Ketu is short. But look at how these dashas work. Again, you can see all these things pop up. Both Mars is a 7-year cycle, Ketu is a 7-year cycle. So within a Mars Ketu, it's going to be a very intense, potentially dangerous, short, and transformative subdasha, particularly for him because it's in the 8th house, Ketu is. And the nodes give the results of the planets they rule, first as house rulers, and then all other indications. So again, Mars Ketu is joined Jupiter, who is of course the karaka of philosophies, preaching, certainly things like the law and inspiring politics. And Jupiter is also the 4th and the 7th house rulers. Again, the 7th house ruler is also a Marika planet, or a killer planet. So Mars Ketu, when you look at this rulership is certainly potentially deadly and devastating. We're not done with Mars, though, because Mars is also the ruler of Rahu, because it's in, or I'm sorry, excuse me, not Rahu. Rahu is in his own nakshatra of Swati. But Mars, what I meant to say is Mars has also joined Saturn up here. So again, Mars is in a debilitated state, and it's joined Saturn, the 6th house ruler, as well. So Mars has some real potential to harm, if not to kill, but to bring a devastating health problem. Mars is already the 3rd and the 8th house ruler, but you can see that it acts more like the 8th house ruler here. Not just because the 8th lord is dominant to the 3rd in the dominant Bhava scheme, but he also has 2 planets in the 8th house. So anytime you get planets in the Bhava, then the planet as a ruler is going to take on more the qualities of the other grahas that it's ruling. So Mars is going to be very much a transformative 8th house ruler here for this Virgo ascendant. So that's the Mars dasha. And Mars Ketu, you can see how this Ketu conjunction with Jupiter really show the near-death experience, but it's of course the transformative experience of activating the 8th house, and this Ketu Jupiter in Bhadrani Nakshatra, ruled by Lord Yama, which is the one who can take you out. And he definitely looked Yama in the face. You see, this is why you look at nakshatras. He looked Yama in the face. By the way, again, just to give you a quick case study here, especially with the zodiac, again, if we're not using sidereal zodiac, then Mars isn't even activating this. These planets are in Taurus, and it falls apart. So again, this is clearly sidereal zodiac, the way Vedic astrology works technically. This is how you do it, right? So we also have to look at Ketu is ruling the moon in the 12th house. So again, Mars Ketu. Ketu rules the moon, is in the 12th house, it's in Magha, but the moon is also the 11th house ruler. What's the 11th house? It's the public. The public. When did the public really find out about Navalny? I mean, mass public. The world really found out about Navalny in a large scale and in a sudden, shocking eruption when Mars Ketu started in August with the poisoning. And he got on the plane and went to Germany, almost died. He had to be put into a coma, etc., etc. All of that came in Mars Ketu, because Ketu is ruling the 11th lord moon in the 12th. And again, the 12th house is what? Foreign countries, exile, hospitals. So again, notice this totally specific event. And again, this is why I'm doing this, because this video, because it's a great case study. So again, anytime, as I encourage all my students to do this, anyone else out there, if you see big shifts happening, look for the birth date, look for the birth time, and look and test your methods and see, because we have some good birth information here, so we can really do a good case study. And so we see this timing absolutely specific. And again, those who've been studying with me know I've been doing these specific methods for 15 years. Exactly what rulerships, house rulers, what gets activated, all of that, right? This is how I just predicted the recent election. It's very clear. Raja Yogas and karma's getting activated. It's very clear who was going to win, etc. So it's very specific methods that I teach and that I use all the time, and you're seeing me explain it now. But now he's in Mars Venus, and so since it was December 27th, I think it was, or whatever it was. No, it was earlier this year. Let me see. Do I have I put some notes. Okay, I didn't do it. All right, so recently he's come back from exile. He's now in Mars Venus. So he didn't die, right? He didn't die. He came back, and now he's in Mars Venus. So he still has the things that Mars are ruling, this Ketu Jupiter in the 8th. And Mars is, obviously joined Saturn up here and whatnot in the 11th. So there's still this public. But now he's Mars Venus. So now we have Venus as the secondary dasha planet. And look at Venus. Look at how powerful Venus is. Look at how much more powerful he is now that he survived this death attempt, this assassination. 1 second. So now he's in Mars-Venus. Mars is still ruling this crusading, transformative, inspiring quality of his Jupiter Ketu in the 8th. But now Venus is also the ruler of his Lagna Lord Mercury. Venus rules herself. Venus is also the ruler of Rahu in the 2nd. And Venus is also still the ruler of this Ketu Jupiter because they're in Bharani Nakshatra. So he's still in a lot of danger. But now there's all this grace. When he was in Mars Ketu, again, Ketu wasn't offering a lot of grace, so to speak. Again, because Ketu, it's in the 8th house. It's ruling the moon in the 12th. And he almost died within inches of his life, right? He was even on an airplane when and a lot of flying airplanes. Jupiter is related to airplanes. But now Venus, all this grace is here because Venus is in its own sign. So you still have the same energy of this Ketu Jupiter in Bharani, and the transformative, transformational, sort of recognition and power there. But now Venus, this Raja Yoga with Venus and Mercury, the first lord in the 9th house with the 9th lord, that's a wicked powerful Raja Yoga. Not just the first lord, but the 10th lord. So for Virgo, the first lord is also the 10th lord. So now you have the 10th lord in the 9th house with the 9th lord. That's a massive Raja Yoga there. Absolute, man, you don't want to be taking someone on if you're Putin, who has got this kind of transit going on. By the way, I looked at Putin, and his birth time is so unknown that I didn't include him in this. We're not sure of the time. We're not even really sure if the date is accurate of what's being listed. So I left him out. But you don't want to be taking someone on who has the 9th lord, even someone who just has the 10th lord in the 9th, which is a Raja Yoga, let alone the 10th lord in the 9th with the 9th lord, let alone when the 10th lord is also the first lord. Because the first house ruler connects you directly with the thing. It's not just your career, it's your identity. It's your whole identity, persona. You become the thing, not just the work or the responsibilities or the duty. And again, this isn't just shooting in the breeze. This is what we're seeing. Now, Navalny himself is the leader, is the figure. So the first lord in the 9th shows where you as the person become the inspirational figure. That's separate from the 10th lord of the 9th, which shows the impact you have and the responsibilities and duties that you're willing to endure and suffer through become blessed. And that cause becomes the inspirational, becomes, inspiring. All that's converging right now for Navalny. This whole year, he's in Mars-Venus until January of 2022. Oh boy. Vladimir Putin has got a reason to fear this guy. This guy ain't going anywhere. This is formidable, man. This is really formidable. And it's so interesting because you're also seeing this whole thing happening. What Navalny is doing, again, he's using social media. He's using TikTok, of all things. I don't even know anything about TikTok. I should probably get on that thing because people are like, TikTok. TikTok, YouTube, he's using all of his social media channels and whatnot to, making fun of Putin. I saw a video, a TikTok video, he's really making fun of Putin because of he's got this big mansion, and it's there's supposedly a water disco or something, I don't know, and it's this stupid TikTok video with some people dancing with, Putin's heads on it, and you see Putin making these videos oh, no, that's not real. Oh, they're just a bunch of, Putin is trying to distance himself from it and kind of minimize it and make fun of it oh, these are just a bunch of idiots. These are just a bunch of, I think he even called them little girls or something. I don't know what it was, but he's definitely terrified and trying to minimize it and ridicule it but people are showing up in the streets, and it's just getting started. And I think it's just getting started. And so again, this is definitely not a this is definitely not a something that's just going to go away. When we see this chart of modern Russia, I want to also lay this over because we have an eclipse coming, and I'm going to show you this eclipse that's coming. I might have already even run the transits. Yeah, actually, I ran the transits in Navalny's chart to look at this eclipse. And look, again, we're not just looking at him as being powerful. But again, his natal chart, we have an eclipse coming up in June. And look at this eclipse. Holy mackerel. There's a term for you. Holy mackerel. That's an old one. But good Lord, look at this. The eclipse is happening with Rahu is 1637 in Rohini. That's where Rahu is. Look at his planets. It's right on his Venus. Exact nodal conjunction to his ninth lord Venus, and a solar eclipse. A powerful solar eclipse is happening. 25 degrees. It's in Mrigashira. Again, his sun is at 20, right near his birthday. So man, plus again, his ninth lord is just getting invigorated with this transformational energy this year. I predict that by the time, this is going to grow, and we might see an absolutely shocking shift and change where I wouldn't be surprised. I actually confess here that I don't understand the Russian electoral system as well as maybe I could or should before I did this video. I'll look into it a little bit more, but we could see some enormous uprisings, and this Navalny just getting catapulted into being the transformative figure that changes Russia, and we could see by the time we get to this eclipse in early June, we could see a whole new Russian paradigm emerging by that time, because this is incredibly powerful. This is a convergence. I guarantee there's going to be huge shifts that happen between now and June in Russia. You watch. You can't see this much energy come together and it just mean nothing. This is the beginning of something huge. By the time we get to this eclipse, who knows what Navalny is going to be, but he's definitely going to be an inspiring, transformative leader and figure. And again, I don't know enough about the Russian electoral system, which I'll look into it a little bit more. Maybe I should have before I did this, but this is kind of spontaneous. But you could definitely see an entire revolution happen with him as a leader in the forefront of that revolution. And again, I'll show you this just for context. Russia has been pretty much under the control of Vladimir Putin really since 2000. You had a brief time from 2008 to 2012 when Medvedev was a kind of figurehead, but Putin was still behind the scenes, very much involved. And then from 2012 until now, he's been in control. It says his term expires May 2024. So again, I don't know how that could perhaps change or what could change, but the Russian people, especially the young people, are tired of the strong arm, dictatorship approach of Vladimir Putin. And again, I just want to show this. I'm going to add this again. This is the 2021 forecast. Again, this eclipse is coming. Solar eclipse in Mrigashira Nakshatra is also coming June 10th. And again, you can see the other thing I wanted to point out is one of the important shifts as well that I already talked about was from April 30th until July 25th. Again, April 30th to July 25th, that's almost 3 months. Mercury is in Taurus and Gemini, which includes a Mercury retrograde cycle. And you look and see how that cycle of Mercury going in between Taurus and Gemini. When you look at Navalny's chart, remember, that's his 9th and 10th houses. And this Mercury retrograde cycle especially could be huge for his ascent and evolution and rise to a higher, to even a higher status. Now, again, for all of us, for you and me and everyone, this Mercury retrograde going between Taurus and Gemini is going to be huge. It's like 3 months of having Mercury very powerful between these two signs where he's really powerful. Because Taurus, he's very good friend with the ruler, and then Gemini, he's the ruler. So he's going to hang out there for several months. So it's a great time and opportunity for all of us to really unravel our karma around Mercury, areas like communication, speech, other kinds of things like that. And you could see how for Navalny, it's in his 9th and 10th houses, and it's really going to elevate him. But again, I explained that in this 2021 forecast, so you can go check that out as well. But again, these protests are just getting started. As you can see, this is just from the Wall Street Journal. And again, this Navalny is coming back after, being they threatened to, or he was poisoned, and there were there's been other poisonings of Putin's enemies. I forgot the guy's name. I'm sorry, I don't keep up on it, but it happened in Britain, and this refers to a larger cycle that I talked about when I talked about the nodes changing in September of 2020. And I said with these nodes changing, it's going to be a focus more on stability and shared values. And again, it's going to be, it'll be harder for authoritarians and the authoritarian rule. The world really saw a huge shift toward authoritarianism the last 3 or 4 years. In the U.S., again, the elevation of Putin, of Erdogan, of Duterte, of authoritarianism, of Bolsonaro. And it started when Rahu went through Leo. And now Taurus is much more of a common shared values, stability, structure, and in a place like Russia where they've been under not authoritarianism, because again, authoritarianism in the modern sense doesn't look the way it used to look. It doesn't look like fascism, like jackboots walking down the street. It looks like oligarchs and elites taking the money while the people grapple. It's about using the appearance and the apparent trappings of democracy, or things that look free, and what looks like a free and fair election, but it's actually rigged. It's using the trappings of democracy against itself. So that's what a modern authoritarian looks like, is this illusion of democracy, but underneath it all, there's a concentration of power. And again, Russia and Putin is a great example of this. He's been, again, consolidating power for decades. He's said to be probably the richest man in the world, probably controls more wealth than anyone else. But again, let's look at the chart of Russia as well, modern Russia. If we look at this January 1st, 1992, as the beginning of modern Russia, even on the webpage that I showed you, the dissolution of the USSR was formally December 25th, I think, of 1991. And then for about a week, USSR was just kind of a figurehead. And then on January 1st, 1992, the USSR formally was dissolved, and Russia became a separate state headed by Boris Yeltsin. And so if we take, again, January 1st, 1992, first thing in the morning, right at 0 hour, again, we have a Virgo ascendant. And we have this chart here with all these planets, especially Moon, Venus, Mars, and Mercury all in Scorpio. And again, we would see, and again, whether it's this Virgo ascendant or not, which again, it actually does make sense, because then Mercury, the ruler, is in Scorpio with the debilitated moon, deeply debilitated moon, and Mars would be very much in control here, and it would show this potential for authoritarianism and a sort of dictator state potentiality there, because when Mars is in control, Mars is like a dictator. The sun is like the sovereign. Mars is the military. So again, you want to have Mars, the military, under the auspices of the sun, the sovereign. Just like you want the king to control the military, not the military to control the king or the kingdom. So again, when we look at this chart, it's a Rahu sun. It's very near an eclipse. We were a day with the Tithi here is, in fact, let me just bring it up. Oops. Well, I already know it's probably the 13th lunar day. Let me bring it up. 13th or 14th. But it's Krishna Dwadashi. Oh yeah, 12th. Okay. But it's like 3 days before a lunar eclipse. I'm sorry, a solar eclipse in Sagittarius. So if you cast that chart for this date, this is the chart you have. And if you look at the chart of Navalny, again, look at how he's got all these planets up here, again, which would be even in the 9th house of the Russia chart. Same ascendant as Navalny, and these 3 planets are up there in the 9th house of the Russia chart, which shows him literally as an inspiring figure. One second. So again, this is also really powerful. The only thing that makes it, again, I'm not putting 100% stock in this because I didn't research this. This would be a logical place to start modern Russia, because that's when they literally stopped being USSR. But if we look at that, then we're looking at Russia is in a Mercury moon dasha right now. And again, the moon is the 11th house ruler, and it's debilitated here in the 3rd house. Again, 3rd house shows, all of this could really show this potential for revolution right now. But again, it's also in its debilitated state. But it's also the ruler of Saturn in the 5th, because Saturn is in Shravana Nakshatra. And it's also shows, again, if we use this time, then Mercury moon, the moon is also ruling the ascendant, which is Hasta. So you could see how even right now, if we look at the modern Russia chart as being January 1st, 92, which again, that's formally when it became Russia and USSR ceased to exist formally, then this would play out as Mercury ruling the ascendant, Virgo, and the moon ruling the ascendant, Virgo. So you also have you have both rulers of the ascendant being activated, Mercury moon, and this potential for a lot of transformation right now happening. The real potential for revolution, and a very positive, inspiring revolution with this figure Navalny, who also has the Virgo ascendant. And again, what this would mean is that this is a man who speaks the language of the country right now. He speaks the language of modern Russia, which has a Virgo ascendant. And again, it's his planets in the 9th house are opposite all of the modern Russia planets in the 3rd house, where you have a sort of militarized state with these planets in Scorpio. You could really see how this Mercury moon dasha would also show this moment of transformation. Again, even if you read the Russia chart as being when I think we should cast it, Mercury is the ruler of the ascendant, and the moon is the ruler of the ascendant because it's in Hasta Nakshatra. Moon is also the ruler of Saturn in Shravana in the 5th. And again, this is the 5th and the 6th house ruler. 6th house has to do with fighting. And so we can see all of this coming together. By the way, Mercury is also the ruler of of Ketu in Gemini in the 10th house. So that you can see this Mercury moon as being a very transformative time right now. and these current transits of Ketu now going through the third house and Rahu going through the ninth house of the Russia chart. Again, we can move this up to that same eclipse that I just looked at. We go through this same eclipse, June 10th. Okay, if we look at this same eclipse that I just looked at, now look, here's that same eclipse. Look at it from the Russia chart. It's exactly opposite. This is June 10th. We looked at it from Navalny's chart. It's right on his Sun, Venus, Mercury in the ninth house. And for modern Russia, it's opposite all these planets in the third house. And Ketu is like bearing down on this Mercury, especially the Mercury Mars. It's very close. So this is a lot of stuff coming together. A lot of stuff coming together. Too much to just write off. It's way too much to just write off as some like, well, God knows what's going to happen. And so this, this is a big opportunity here, or a big shift happening right now. And again, by the way, I'm going to be very clear about something. I don't know anything about the politics of Navalny. I don't know if he's right or left or anything. I don't, okay? So I have to say this because people get so damn fired up about politics now. You can't even do a case study, or people are like, oh, he's just another liberal, blah, blah, and people dump all over me. If you're going to do that, just go away, all right? I'm not making a political statement. It's an astrological case study, all right? So just that, again, I have to say it now because everything is so hyper-politicized. I'm not advocating anything. I'm just showing. And it's all very factually known, okay? So, but we can see very clearly this this moment in time right now. And again, I looked at it because I looked to see, is this something that's just starting or what's going on here? And I looked at it, I'm like, whoa, boy, we got something happening here. When we look at his chart, and we look at the chart of Russia, and we look at even what this guy is doing, even when we look at the whole social media and the kind of using these same tools to foment revolution, and his ability to do it, his understanding of the moment, his ability to use something like TikTok or these social media messages to undermine the empire, very shrewd. And again, you can see this as the Virgo ascendant, Mercury the ruler, especially the 10th lord in the 9th, with the 9th lord, with the sun, again, which is the power, very inspiring figure, and it's going to bring some transformation in Russia. You watch in the next few months, especially when we get near this eclipse in June. Mark my words, we're going to see some major stuff happening here, and so I just wanted to make this quick video to show the to show this moment and this really interesting case study. So I see there's conversations here going on. I hope you guys have been having a good conversation. I'm gonna just I'll just finally at the last give the link again for those who maybe just joined the live broadcast that you can get the forecast for 2021 here if you click that link. Really just it's 2021 Vedic Astrology, and again, this is a free web class, and you can see a lot of these same shifts that I'm talking about, these inflection points. Again, a couple of them, especially with, we just looked at Navalny, this time April 30th to July 25th, and again, that eclipse is in there as well. But that Mercury cycle from April 30th to July 25th, going between his 9th and 10th houses, very powerful to reverse things and to make his public life, again, he could be in a lot of danger as well, no question, but that can be a catalyst for revolution. And then within that, we have this eclipse on June 10th, total eclipse of stability, Taurus, and it's happening in Mrigashira Nakshatra, which is about searching for the nectar and searching for a more pure vision. And for Russia, again, Taurus is the 9th house in that Russia chart. And that shows the philosophies of the country, the governing philosophies of the country. And by the way, those things are very important. And I highlighted them in the U.S. when I did the recent election prediction as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this case study, and it shows a lot of principles, including the proper zodiac. Again, this is all sidereal zodiac based, because all that rulerships and those yogas, all that falls apart if you're not using the correct zodiac. It also shows even the dashas and the rulerships that are showing why these things are getting activated. Again, all of that is zodiac dependent. Vedic astrology is extremely precise when you understand what makes karmas ripen and happen, where the power lies, and then to align that with the timing. So you see the dashas line up, and the transits have to line up as well. That's why I said, man, this is crazy. We got all this stuff lining up now. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this and learned something.